Am I the a-hole for banning my wife from watching complex movies? Story. I love my wife. She is intelligent and sweet. Also, she is beautiful inside and out. She teaches high school English and social studies. She loves novels and usually has several on the go. However, she cannot follow the plot of a movie to save her life. Unless it is about a big city lawyer visiting her hometown to shut down the local factory, but instead reconnecting with her high school boyfriend who is also the local baker and mayor. I've known this about her for years and I have accepted it. I just like vegging with her, so I'm happy to see white people rediscovering the magic of Christmas. Or whatever. When we were dating, we watched The Matrix. The questions she asked had me wondering about her. Ditto for anything complex. Even The Usual Suspects, where they lay everything out for you, she didn't get the ending. We had her sister and brother-in-law over for a couple's night on Friday. We made supper, and the plan was to watch a movie. Sister wanted to watch Shutter Island. I will not spoil it, but the movie has many twists. The ending is awesome. I tried my best to suggest anything else. The new Laura Dern movie where she bangs the kid from Hunger Games. They all ganged up on me and said we were watching Shutter Island. My wife proceeded to embarrass herself by not understanding the ending and asking questions that were not great. Her sister and her husband were looking at my wife like she was simple Jack. I tried my best to cover for her or telling her I would explain it later. She got mad at me for not just answering her questions. After they left, she started in me. She said that she noticed that we always watched a certain kind of movie and that she thought I enjoyed them. I said I did because we got to spend time together and that made me happy. She said that she was not an idiot and that she just didn't concentrate on movies. She recited the plots of several novels to prove her point. I said that I had never commented on her intelligence and that AHE was smarter than me. She says that I'm a jerk for not watching movies I enjoy with her, so I agreed and we watched Memento today. I think her head almost exploded from asking questions. I saw her on Wikipedia reading the plot. Am I the a-hole for intentionally not watching complicated movies with my wife? Response 1. Nah, I can understand why you picked movies you could both enjoy, and I can see why she might be a bit miffed at the miscommunication. Having said that, maybe she's already found the solution to the problem. You both watch the complex movie together, and then she reads the plot summary so she can process the information in a way that makes sense to her. Then she doesn't have to ask questions, and you can both enjoy movies together. Depending on how her brain works, she might even enjoy reading the plot summary first, and then watching it with you. She might be able to enjoy the movie even more. It'd be like when you watch a movie about a book you read, but this time everything is accurate because the book is the plot summary. Reply 1. Oh, this is me! I absolutely have to know the plot of the movie before I will go. I love spoilers. Otherwise, it's hard for me to concentrate and not to be overwhelmed. With TV shows, I am often on my computer looking things up. Trying that with your wife might very well be the answer. Reply 2. Maybe also discuss with your wife about how each of our brains process things differently. Some of us think in images and pick up on visual language quickly, and some can't picture anything in their heads. Some people don't even think using words. Lucky sobs. Most people can barely focus on lengthy text anymore, so she has a superpower there she should feel proud of. If she wanted to, she could learn by watching more cinema and reading up on tropes and narrative structure, but also she doesn't need to. Reply 3. Yeah, I'm the same as OP's wife. Love complex novels, have difficulty with the visual language of movies. I usually read thorough reviews afterwards to make sure I understood them properly. But part of the reason I have trouble is I have face blindness, so I get characters confused. This is why I prefer TV drama series. I have more time to learn who each character is beyond just their face. O.P. I encourage your wife to continue with that cheat after watching a movie. Feel free to share my response with her. Reply 4. Most people can barely focus on lengthy text anymore, so she has a superpower there she should feel proud of. Your advice is good, but let's be clear, literacy is not a superpower. The fact that our society is backsliding into illiteracy is something we should be ashamed of and seek to change, rather than putting people who can read competently on a pedestal and praising what has been and should still be a normal ability. Reply 5. I think you've hit it with the suggestion on tropes and narrative structure. She's an English teacher, can read and follow several different books at once, and clearly understands the art of storytelling. I think that perhaps taking in a story via visual consumption is very different from what she's used to, and telling stories through movies is distinctly different from telling them through novels. For instance, The Song of Achilles is a beautifully written piece, but what makes it such a good book wouldn't translate to film. It would have to be told using a completely different narrative structure, so perhaps OP's wife is simply not familiar with the way movies tell stories. Perhaps it would be beneficial for her to read up on tropes and such so that she can appreciate how movies tell their stories. And just as importantly, she needs to be given the opportunity to watch movies she doesn't understand, especially when paired with taking the above steps to educate herself. She'll never learn if she's not being given the opportunity to. Response 2. Have you tried turning on the captions? She might process information by reading, so that could help her. Also, if you always watch with them on, maybe that's what's distracting her. I know I missed some scenes because I'm busy reading. I have to rewind it a bit. Reply 1. Even though I'm commenting as a deaf person, I know a lot of hearing people who find movies better with captions because it enables them to process the info better, so I heavily recommend this tip. Reply 2. Yes, I'm neurodivergent and have a comorbid condition called audio processing disorder. Basically, my brain lags behind in processing spoken words. Captions make it so much easier for me to follow along with anything I'm watching. If only real life had captions. Reply 3. Man, remember 10 years ago when we thought AI would give us a HUD for crap like in real life captions and instead we got the crap we have now? Reply 4. You can already find a YouTube video of a person wearing smart glasses that give her captions of people speaking nearby. That future is already here. One of many examples. Reply 5. I put a movie on in class the other day and my students asked me to turn on the captions. None of them are deaf. They all said they just prefer to watch movies that way. My students are all 13/14. Response 3. Info. Did she embarrass herself or were you embarrassed on her behalf? By which I mean, was she upset by not understanding the movie or just by the way you were reacting? How sure are you that the negative vibe you got from her sister was about her asking dumb questions and not her sister being concerned about you trying to shut her down? Like, there's no way she and her sister haven't watched movies together before, right? Her habit of wanting movie plots explained while watching them cannot possibly have been news. It's fine and normal to not prefer to try to answer questions while you're trying to enjoy a movie, but in my opinion, you should try to separate the issue of what you need in order to enjoy a movie from the question of whether simpler movies are also to her benefit. If she enjoys watching complicated movies so long as she has someone to talk through them with, that's a different problem from her not wanting to watch them because it's stressful to try to follow but feeling obliged for other people's enjoyment. Reply 1. This. I watch movies with friends who don't pay attention, / don't understand what's going / etc. all the time. I'll jokingly give them a hard time about it, but only because I know we have that kind of rapport. I'm not actually appalled that they aren't following things. But waving her off in front of other people and saying you'll explain later feels uncomfortable and embarrassing. Not the a-hole for only wanting to watch things you don't have to stop and explain, but it doesn't sound like you handled this incident well or that you and your wife are on the same page about what the actual issue here is. Reply 2. Yeah, my mom is very intelligent in many areas, does daily crosswords, was a lawyer, good at various puzzles, and she always starts a movie by saying, okay, and Space Dinosaur, you can explain it to me afterwards. My entire life, starting at age 8. 10, I've been explaining movie plots to my mom. She is self-aware about this, and it's a running joke. Reply 3. Exactly this. OP has decided what is best for her without discussion, without her even knowing what he is doing. It may well be that she is happier watching simpler, down-to-earth movies. This might end up your shared movie night experience going forward, but you don't get to decide that for her. And if you feel embarrassed for her, maybe try to find out how she felt. If the only thing she felt bad about that whole interaction was you trying to cover for her, then that is what you should do differently. Trying to make a point with Memento feels like a dick move. Pick something average maybe, rather than a film most people watch twice because they couldn't follow the first time around. Lying to your wife about what movies you enjoy is quite sad and shows a lack of trust. Good luck to O.P, but you're the a-hole. Reply 4. Yeah, I felt like O.P.S response was super patronizing. Does her asking questions about movies bother you? If so, ask her not to. But deciding that you're only going to watch simple movies because you're afraid of her being bothered by not understanding makes no sense. She's grown, she can decide what movies she wants to watch. I'd be so upset if my partner spent years making me dumbed down choices that he thought were in my interest without discussing it with me. Also, why are you so bothered by her embarrassing herself in front of her own sister? Reply 5. Also, why are you so bothered by her embarrassing herself in front of her own sister? Because who wants their spouse to embarrass themselves in general, much less in front of people whose opinions probably matter to said spouse? I think that's pretty normal. Response 4. Not sure how to vote, but leaning towards you're the a-hole. While it does sound annoying for you, the way you talk about your wife is kind of condescending. It's like you think that because she has trouble following one specific type of movie, cerebral plus plot twisty, that she can only handle crappy chick flicks, and you're embarrassed for her by that. You also basically talk down to her in front of her sister and brother-in-law. Are you even so sure they really thought she was so stupid? Or that they were that bothered by her not getting the twist? What I really don't get is this. Why is the only alternative to the movies with plot twists designed to mess with your head Hallmark movies? Like, there are plenty of other genres out there. Pick something better than Hallmark, but with not so many plot twists. It can't be that hard. Or as someone else suggested, if you have to pick something with a big reveal at the end, let her read the plot summary on IMDb, either before or after the movie, so she can process it better. Reply 1. Yeah, the fact that his wife said they could watch films he likes, and he chose _memento_ feels like he was deliberately trying to undermine her. There's a million films in between Hallmark movies and that. Reply 2 exactly. Lots of people can't pick up all the clues along the way in those movies and need to go back and watch them again to figure out what they missed. Also this bit, I tried my best to suggest anything else. The new Laura Dern movie where she bangs the kid from Hunger Games. Like, that's the only option, and that's the way he chooses to describe it. He keeps saying his wife is smart, but I'm not convinced that he actually believes that, and his wife probably sees through that as well. Reply 3. I am so confused. Isn't his wife an English high school teacher? What kind of teacher cannot follow through complex movies and literature? Like, isn't that her main job, to decipher hidden meanings and analyze it? Reply 4. I just had exactly the same thought, like he's testing her. Surely there is a movie that is more sophisticated than Hallmark and less complicated than Memento. John Wick, The Big Short, American Fiction, Parasite, The King's Speech, Wreck-It, Ralph. I mean, there are thousands of movies that he could have picked, but he decided to go with the convoluted, challenging one. OP, you're the a-hole. Edit U/E walkie-talkie suggests also Aliens, T2, Jackie Brown, Gravity, Silence of the Lambs, Atomic Blonde, Kill Bill. Reply 5, convoluted is exactly the right word. And I agree with both of you that he likely chose Memento on purpose just to be a jerk. Response 5, YTA. There are so many good movies out there, but all of your examples are from the 2% of movies that are deliberately confusing or known for their plot twists. If you look at IMDb's best movies of all time, while I strongly disagree with the list, I'm sure she'd be fine the large majority of movies there. It comes across like you're searching hard for some way to put her down. You're embarrassed by her because she didn't get the plot twists of Shutter Island. She likes to watch movies. It's an activity you do with friends, but she's only capable of movies that are famously stupid. Reply 1. Glad to see this finally. OOP. You're the a-hole. Your wife didn't embarrass herself. You feel embarrassed by judging from this thread alone. Very common problem. Your post reeks of condescension with a soupçon of misogyny. Describing her as Simple Jack was the final straw for me. Everyone agreeing with this asshat is just bolstering his perceived superiority in this situation. Personally, I hope that when he shows the wife this as evidence, she does her best reading for context and leaves him. Also, intelligence is not earmarked by how people consume media/art. That is all subjective. Some of the most intelligent people I know enjoy lowbrow entertainment and vice versa, which isn't even the case here, as the wife clearly enjoys complex movies. This issue is OP. Reply 2. I completely agree. There's so many movies out there between mine, fuck, and Hallmark. It's almost like he wants to prove there's something he knows better when she tells him to pick a movie, and he chooses the complicated movies, which are hard for a lot of people to follow, even if they spell out the ending. Or when the only options he presents are something complicated or Hallmark. Reply 3. I agree. Also, I relate a lot to OP's wife in that I love reading, I am intelligent, and when I watch movies without reading up the plot beforehand and don't ask questions during watching, there's a pretty low chance that I even got the gist of what I just watched. Since I recognize this in myself, I always make sure to go into any new movie having read the plot. Easier for everyone, especially me. Nobody can tell me this makes me dumb. I'm just different in this aspect. My brain understands and processes new information well enough, just in a more literal, direct text format. Response 6, nah. It's actually not uncommon to process written language better than spoken. I'm not as severe as your wife, but if I have the option, I always go for subtitles. And yes, sometimes I need to read something for it to sink in. I can't listen to podcasts. They're like an annoying itch in my head. I'm just a bit surprised she's not more aware of the issue. Maybe she can talk to her GP? Sometimes the upside is mostly some tools and tips on managing her condition to make it easier. Reply 1. Upvoted for podcasts being an annoying itch in my head. That's exactly it for me. I hate listening. Ha 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 ha. Even in real life, I have to convert what people are saying to text in my head, and that makes it easier for me to process and respond appropriately. Otherwise, I'm always in a cloud. Reply 2. At work, I love it when somebody comes to me when I'm busy and I can ask them to send an email without coming off rude. Reply 3. I find movies simply boring because I have nothing to do. They don't require much mental capacity. And if it's an easy movie, I don't have to pay attention much. I can enjoy the scenes that are interesting and zone out for the rest, or play games on my phone when I'm alone. Sometimes I use them as background noise. Watching complicated movies is just as boring. I find them predictable, but if you stop paying attention, you miss something important. So I don't watch them. Could be that too. Reply 4. The older I get, the less I am able to process information if it's only verbal. I need an artifact I can put my eyeballs on so I can read, reread, and read again. The move to work from home / online meetings with no whiteboards, etc. has actually not been great. Response 7. YTA for selecting Memento as the film you tried to bring her in on for the first one. You knew what you were doing, and there are hundreds of brilliant films that don't completely challenge how films are structured. Why not just be done with it and choose Tenet? Some films are hard to pick everything up on first time, and Nolan is a master at this. Very unfair thing to do, in my opinion. Should have picked a good film without an intentionally complicated structure. Reply 1. Exactly. Picking Memento just shows that he wants to be right in this argument. That's not an easy film for anyone. Reply 2. I love those kind of movies, and I loved Shutter Island. Memento is way more complicated than Shutter Island. It's not just a plot twist movie, it's deliberately constructed to be non-linear and confusing for the whole movie, not just the end. Dude's about to bust out Tenet next for no reason. Response 8, YTA. It's small and you can come back from it, but there are things to address. Point 1. It doesn't sound like you ever tried to talk to her about this. Adults communicate. You didn't. 2. It seems like your plan was to watch a kind of movie that neither of you particularly enjoyed. Thus, neither of you got any enjoyment out of it. This is a terrible plan. 3. Her sister is definitely aware of your wife's tendency to ask questions during movies. I doubt she was surprised, and I'm sure she wasn't thinking she's dumb like you assumed she did. 4. This whole thing comes off as you believing it's an intelligence issue instead of anything else. And that's not a great way to think about your wife. Ultimately, it's just kind of condescending that. Plus, your failure to actually communicate the problem means she's totally justified in being angry at you. You need to apologize for not talking to her like an adult and ask her what would help her follow the plot of movies better. Then, hopefully, you two can actually enjoy watching movies together. Reply 1. None of us can speak on whether she enjoys the movies as the context is not there. However, we do know by her admissions that she either has trouble or does not care to focus on movies. Clearly, movies are not her medium of choice. Novels are. Movies are his medium of choice. It's not fair to either of them to watch the mind-bending movies he clearly enjoys most together, not because she is not intelligent, but because she cannot focus on this medium, which ruins both of their enjoyment. When my girlfriend takes me to classical music concerts, she takes me to the recognizable pieces I might enjoy, not to ones you need to be in love with the medium to fully appreciate and enjoy. When I share my love of video games with her, I have yet to find something she can truly enjoy so that we might have fun together. I will look for simpler and simpler games in hopes to find something we can share a moment with. None of this is an intelligence thing. It's a medium of choice thing. This guy clearly has written multiple times in the post that he thinks she is more intelligent than him. I think it's the comments that is equating being able to focus on movies with intelligence. Response 9. It would be one thing if you had communicated to her that you don't want to explain movies to her, but instead you manipulated her into thinking that you only liked simple movies. Not only that, but you seem more concerned about her coming across as dumb than you are concerned about having to explain the plot. Bruh, it's her sister. Surely her sister knows that she's bad at understanding movies. You're the a-hole. You should have communicated like an adult. Response 10. She finds reading more engaging than watching. I saw her on Wikipedia reading the plot. This sounds like a really great solution. I'd say ask her if she enjoyed that way of watching with you, but I think it's too sensitive of a topic to bring up right now. You kind of suck for being inauthentic towards her. Instead of just putting on movies you think are easy to follow, you could have asked, hey, let's find something that doesn't require a lot of concentration to follow. What would you like? Things like cooking shows or stand-up comedy don't really require you to pay constant attention either. I think what makes you're the a-hole is that it sounds like when this happens, you just look at her like she has 5 heads. If you know she's smart but has trouble paying attention, then just explain to her without the weird judgment. Response 11. Nah, my partner has somewhat of the same issue, but I have no issue explaining things to her. That's one of the reasons I have a pause button. Reply 1. If I have to pause a movie to explain what we're both watching, I'd rather just not watch the movie at all. It ruins the flow of said movie. Reply 2. That's fair too. I am the type of person that needs to process verbally. So if I am watching a movie or a show with other people, I'm going to say things, maybe ask questions, etc. I rarely need things explained, but I just like to verbally process the visuals because otherwise it doesn't stick as well in my brain. Ultimately, I think people just watch media differently, and there needs to be appropriate compromise on both sides. Like, I wouldn't be able to watch a movie with someone and they want us to stay silent all the way through. At that point, I could have watched it alone or in a theater. But some people also get really disturbed and distracted by verbal interruptions during watching, which I can understand, where something like pausing can help be a point in the middle. Movie watching with other people is complicated, laugh out loud. Response 12, YTA, it reads as fake, but more than that, it all sounds incredibly condescending. There are films with few plot twists that are better than Hallmark, but no, you had to pick a movie about a guy with a short-term memory issue, a film that is being told in reverse. Reply 1. If I found out my husband was referring to me as a simple jack on Reddit, we'd be fighting. That is so rude. Edit. I just asked my husband about this and you should have seen his face. He very much agrees with me. Reply 2. Considering the way he describes her here, it's inevitable that he is condescending towards her in daily life as well. Response 13. YTA, you keep saying you don't think she's stupid, but it really feels like you do. You should show her this post and see how she feels about how you talk about her. Also, the movie examples you gave, The Matrix, Usual Suspects, Shutter Island, and Memento, all have odd storytelling narratives. They jump around or hide information the viewer isn't supposed to necessarily understand. Try a movie that tells a more straightforward narrative. It's really not hard. There's so much out there. Just watch Paddington. Response 14. NTA, I feel exhausted constantly having to explain movies to someone. If she can't concentrate on a movie even when trying, is she trying? Maybe that's something she may want to get checked out? Reply 1. It's more likely that she has an auditory processing disorder / delay and the movie has so much auxiliary that she is missing key things. Or that she misunderstands movie language and the implications of how scenes are shot. Reply 2, I think there's also pretty solid possibility that she's dividing her attention, especially given that she says she just didn't concentrate on movies. My wife likes to cross-stitch when watching movies, which means we rarely watch anything together that needs her to be paying that much attention to the screen. There's swaths of films that I don't watch with her because of that. Reply 3, no, that is not more likely. Not everyone has a disorder of some kind. In fact, the majority of people don't. She is just a bit dumb or inattentive. It's not the end of the world. Reply 4, my mom does this with every complicated movie. She has no processing disorder and we use subtitles. She's simply not paying attention. Then when she's back paying attention, she has 18 questions to try to catch up. I almost never watch movies the first time with her because I can't enjoy them without her saying, wait, who is that? Every 10 minutes. She knows she does this, and with older movies, we can laugh it off, but for new stuff, it drives me insane. Response 15, nah. I ended up watching those sorts of movies with my wife for the opposite reason. We would be 15 minutes into the movie, and she would say something like, that guy's going to murder his best friend and then kidnap his wife. And more often than not, she was correct. There is no way she cheated, as I picked movies on Prime at random, and it pissed me off as I couldn't focus as I was waiting for her predicted plot twist to occur. Reply 1. I always think that I'm watching something somewhat mind-boggling and exciting, and then my fiancé just says what's gonna happen purely through his own inductive reasoning. And he always gets it right, gosh dang it. I really need to up the ante in terms of mystery and confusion, and doubt laugh out loud. Response 16, nah, but there are movies in between Hallmark and Memento. I debated ending so hard with my husband with Did We Hear It Stop? Shawshank Redemption, a compromise maybe. The other thing, she could read the book before a movie. It's a shame she couldn't read Shutter Island first. Mind you, that could open a whole can of worms. The books are better conversations. Response 17, YTA. This story has all of the markers of a badly written Hallmark film. Is a terrible piece of fiction. Do better. Read some books. Reply 1. But can you explain to me why? How do we know that the OP wrote this and is not true? How do you know he doesn't read books? Reply 2. Because this is Reddit, and there will always be people screaming fake if they can't personally see the situation happening to them. Response 18. YTA. The way you speak about your wife in this post is disgusting, and I'm embarrassed for her that she married such a condescending ass. Response 19. YTA, why is this such a big deal to you? Why are you putting yourself in charge of what she's watching? She wants to watch other things. It doesn't matter whether or not she gets them if she is enjoying watching them. If you don't want to answer her questions after, fine, tell her that. She can look stuff up if she wants. But you're so busy being embarrassed about her that you can't get over yourself and treat her like an adult. Also, you say the others, including her own sister, were looking at her like she was stupid? I'm calling BS. You were embarrassed and you were completely projecting. Like her sister doesn't know what she's like or never watched movies with her. She's known her longer than you. She likely didn't care at all. Unless she noticed you trying to protect your wife. A spoiler, you weren't. You were trying to cover your own embarrassment. That probably weirded her out, or at least made her wonder what was going on when she never would have cared otherwise about this. Why am I so sure this is the case? Because I have found myself in your shoes before. I have acted just like that, thinking I was protecting someone. Nope. I was embarrassed about their behavior, but 1, it was never as bad as I thought it was, and 2, they were not embarrassed or concerned. I had to realize that I was treating them like dumb little children instead of adults, and that literally no one cared about any of this except for my own anxiety. I still sometimes have to tell myself to step back and let people act how they're gonna act without trying to filter it / cover it up / swoop in and do anything. If it's an issue, which it almost never is, that is on them. They're adults, but nearly always it is literally no big deal at all. Response 20, NTA, but I do not envy you your life. I can't imagine having to explain movies to ban adult or watching Hallmark movies as anything other than penance.